My name is Scott Credici. We're happy to be joined right now by our Director of Athletics at Brown University, Jack Hayes. Jack, this is certainly a unique fall, I think, for our student athletes at Brown and throughout the Ivy League with no athletic competition. What should our student athletes expect things to look like this fall?
Well, Scott, as you know, really since March, it has been new territory for all of us. And I just would never have thought at the time in March that it was going to carry on into the next academic year. But that is the case, and we will not be competing in the fall semester. But I think student athletes should be prepared and hopeful about what the fall can offer. Our intent is that when we go through certain steps that we would get to where we can participate in strength and conditioning activities, whether they be in the strength and conditioning facility or potentially out on fields. I do think we're going to see more and more activities take place outside if they can. And that's what I think the fall is going to look like, at least to start.
Well, you partially answered my next question, and that is, will they eventually be able to work out in small groups under certain protocols? I know we don't know the definite plans to this point, but it sounds to me like things might be heading in that direction.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, the protocols involve what can be done in strength and conditioning, what can be done in a strength and conditioning activity outside on a field. And then there would be steps. Could you practice in small groups, which would be another phase. And then ultimately a phase would be to be able to practice in larger groups, or what a regular practice would look like. But those phases are all going to be dictated by what the outcomes of the testing is. And both testing at Brown and what are Brown's protocols going to be, but also what are the guidelines of the state of Rhode Island going to be, and what would be permitted under those guidelines. So what's interesting is that the phases are the same for all the schools in the Ivy League, but when each phase would start or when you could go to the next phase really is going to be dictated school by school. It's going to be different, and it's going to depend on, again, similar to our situation, what are the testing numbers like and the trends on their campuses, and what are the guidelines of the respective states in which those schools are located.
Jack, I know it's very early in the fall semester, but to me, it looks like the university has really done a great job in testing, in contact tracing and things of that nature. The university looks like they had a great plan coming in, and to date, it looks like it's being executed very well also.
Yeah, I'm proud to work at Brown during a situation like this. I think people have worked very hard trying to figure out what is the best situation for students, what is the best situation for staff, how to get out in front of this as much as we can. And I think it's hard. I'm sure people want to get back to the office. They want to get back to a routine. It can't happen yet. But I think the things that we're seeing at Brown are ultimately in the best interest of all the individuals that are in the Brown community, students and staff. And I think our responsibility is to listen to those who have the information and to follow whatever protocols are set.
Well, obviously, lots of changes on campus due to the pandemic, and joining us right now to talk about some of those is the Facility Operations Manager and Aquatics Coordinator here at Brown University, Ray Grant. Ray, how are you?
Scott, great to see you.
Well, it's great to see you as well. I miss seeing you in person and on campus, Ray. The Nelson Fitness Center and the Catherine Moran Coleman Aquatic Center have been quiet for some time due to the pandemic. What are some of the things that you've been doing during this time?
Yeah, it's certainly different, Scott, not having anybody here. That's for sure. We've just been maintaining the facility. I mean, there's a lot to maintain in a facility like this, particularly when it comes to the pool. And that pool has got 1 million gallons of water in it, so it's not like you can allow that to just sit there idly without taking care of it. We've also been able to take this time to get a lot of projects done that we had in the pipeline that would have had to, or that would have necessitated us closing the facility for certain periods of time. Things like deck work that we've had to get done, replacing some tiles and regrouting. We've had a main filter pump that needed to be replaced, and that required shutdown for a while. So some heat pumps that needed to be replaced. So we've been able to get a lot of actually routine maintenance work done that would have normally required shutdown, that we've been able to push that up with the help of facilities and get that done now, so that when we are eventually able to reopen, we're not going to have intermittent shutdowns to take care of some of these things. So you always look for the positives in these situations. That's one of the positives.
Absolutely. Ray, and speaking of reopening, is there any word on when the Nelson Fitness Center and or the pool might reopen to the Brown community?
We're constantly working on, and we have been working on for quite some time, plans to safely reopen the facility. I know that it is a priority of the athletic administration and also of the university administration to provide, healthy, safe places for people to get their physical activity in, okay, which is just as important as some of the other things in terms of keeping people healthy, both physically and emotionally. So we are working through the process, but unfortunately with this pandemic, as everybody knows, what today is different than tomorrow. So we have plans today that need to change tomorrow based on changing information and dynamics. But yes, we are working on a plan, and it is moving through the process. Brown is being very careful about making certain that whatever plans we put in place are the best possible plans for the Brown community and the greater Providence and Rhode Island community at large in terms of staying safe. And that's what we're working on.
And I would imagine that if and when the fitness center and pool do reopen, that there will be strict protocols in place. Can you give us examples of any of those and what they might be?
Sure. First and foremost, the biggest change will be face coverings. Okay, face coverings will be required inside of all Brown's facilities if you're indoors, which means, for people who are working out, yes, you are going to have to wear a face covering when you're on the treadmill, or you will have to wear a face covering if you're on the bike, or any type of physical activity inside the building. You will be required to wear a face mask. That's going to be significantly different, and the face mask will need to be able to cover both the nose and mouth, and there won't be any exceptions to that. In terms of the pool, obviously you can't wear a face mask when you're swimming in the pool, but you will need to wear a face mask while you're entering the building. While you're on the pool deck, you'll take it off, okay, put it with your belongings while you swim, and then as soon as you exit the pool, you'll put the face covering back on. So that's one thing that will be significantly different. The other thing that will be significantly different is that we will be moving to a reservation system, because we have to keep the number of people in the facility at a minimum and make sure that we're maintaining social distancing. It won't be like it has been in the past, where you could just come over to the Nelson Fitness Center or the pool during open hours. There will be posted time slots where people can make a reservation. They can come in and work out during the reservation period and then would have to leave. That will allow us to do some cleaning. We're scheduling the reservation period so that it gives us about 15 minutes in between, so that we can go ahead and clean all of the equipment and make sure that we're keeping everybody safe.
Well, during this time, it's been tough for some of us. I know for myself, working from home, being so close to the refrigerator and the food closet, I've put on the pandemic pounds, or maybe the COVID-19, and here to maybe talk to us a little bit about how we can shed that weight is our head strength and conditioning coach at Brown University, Brandon O'Neill. Brandon, how are you?
I'm doing well, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, thank you for joining us. Unique times call for unique measures. Tell us what you and your staff are doing in partnership with the Nelson Fitness Center for our student body here at Brown.
Yeah, so right now we're in a quiet period at Brown, so not many facilities are open, including the Nelson Fitness Center. So we were able to partner with them and Kelly Soares, the director there, to provide workouts that require little to no equipment, that they can perform in their room or outside. we've been able to get our creative juices flowing and do some pre-recorded stuff, variety of different things from mobility, upper body, total body, high intensity training, yoga type of stuff, just providing a lot of variety to people for an outlet, because I think everybody knows during this time, this has become almost less about physical training, but almost more about mental health. We need to do something. We need to sweat. We need to stay active during these unique times, like you said. And it's been great, so we've been able to record workouts anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, and Kelly's offering 2 a day, obviously different workouts. So you can do up to 2 a day, pre-recorded, log in, and do them at your leisure. Again, little to no equipment. And it's been fun to force my staff and I to be creative, and also not just reach out to the student athletes, but this is all of the students at Brown now that we are able to help out. It's been a great experience.
Yeah, that's a great service for the Brown community. If and when the Zaccone Varsity Weight Room does reopen for our student athletes, I would imagine, Brandon, there are going to be certain protocols in place. What should they expect?
Our protocols are still under construction, so nothing's for sure yet. But some things we definitely know. We're going to be reorganizing the weight room to minimize high touch areas and things like that. We're planning on having our student athletes in very strict training spaces that they won't really leave from unless they need a drink of water or to go to the bathroom. But even then, we're going to require athletes to bring a bottle of water with them that they can refill there if need be. But again, to minimize the traffic around the room. And we'll more than likely going to be training in cohorts of 10, and we want those cohorts of 10 not to change throughout the semester, again, so we can minimize, the impact of this infection. And, so we're around the same people as often as possible, not trying to mix in and things like that. So our room will be separated, as it's always been, but even more so, into 2 sides, so that we can have a group of 10 on one side and another group of 10 on another side, roughly 30 to 40 feet apart, those 2 groups. So there won't be any interaction with those 2 groups. And again, your training space will be your training space. No one else will be in that space. And then we will have intensive cleaning measures once that session is done. We'll enter through a specific doorway, and we'll exit through a specific doorway as well. Again, entry and exit only, where normally we would do that through the same doorway. Now we'll have specific entry and exit. So we're trying to be creative and provide the best training experience possible within the constructs that Brown is suggesting. And more than likely, we will be wearing masks during these workouts, which is fine. And but right now, my viewpoint is any training is better than no training. So as long as we can get in there and train, I'm willing to do whatever's possible to do that.
Well, right now it gives us great pleasure to welcome to our Bear Chats the Fitness and Wellness Coordinator at Brown University, Kelly Swords. Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing great, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, Kelly, the fitness center has been closed for a little while here due to the pandemic, like everything else on campus. But I understand that you and your staff, in conjunction with the strength and conditioning staff, have come up with some unique ideas for Brown students.
Yeah, Brandon with strength and conditioning and the rest of his team, they've been really gracious with their time in being able to record some fitness class videos for our website. So if anyone just logs on to brownrec.com, they can see a bunch of different fitness classes that I've recorded and that Brandon and his team have recorded. So it's been really great to work with them, and I'm just really happy to see what they can bring to the table with this.
Kelly, I know right now we're still uncertain as to when the fitness center will reopen, but if and when it does, in general terms, what do you think things will look like at Nelson?
Yeah, so right now, like we said, things are all virtual, but we're really hoping that we can reopen safely soon with some nice safety protocols in place. Maybe doing some outdoor classes would be so great, I think, for everyone. And, just offering fitness in any way that we can for people in the safest form possible right now.
Well, the athletic training room at Brown University may not be buzzing like it normally would at this time of the year, but that doesn't mean that our student athletes won't still be seeking treatment at some point in time. And to talk to them a little bit about that is Brown's Director of Sports Medicine, John Furtado. John, how are you?
Pretty good. Thank you, Scott, for having me on.
Well, John, thank you for joining us. Again, the athletic training room, I'm not sure the status. Is it open? Is it not open? Will you be treating student athletes? And if so, at what point in time?
So athletics has been working really hard, administration, and getting our different facilities open. And one of us, we have a plan in place that the university is reviewing right now. So when we're approved, yes, we will be open. Once students are here, we will be approved to see them. The only issue is about de-densifying the area. So we will have appointment only. So people will not be able to just walk in for a regular appointment. So that'll be the difference in limitation.
What about student athletes that might have a pre-existing condition, might be rehabbing from an injury? How will it work for them?
So individuals who've had surgery over the summer or surgery recently, they'll go through the same process where they'll set up an appointment for evaluation, and we'll set up follow-up appointments. They might not be coming in daily. It may be a thing that they may be seeing us 3 times a week or twice a week. As those who had chronic issues that are ongoing, we'll be evaluating them as well and setting them up on a program, but they'll be doing more home program versus being in here, but there will be some on-site as well. And we'll be following up with our athletes, virtually as well. So as they're doing their programs in their dorm room, we'll be able to, follow up, make sure they're doing it right. It's just going to be a sheer thing of numbers, and we're not going to have the availability due to the university's restrictions.
John, what types of protocols will be put in place in the training room to ensure student athletes' safety during the pandemic?
So once again, having the appointments, so we decrease how many people are coming in. The building, so we're splitting up our staff into 2 buildings for now. They would be the OMAC and as well as the Pizzatola. So there will be attendance at the entrances that will allow people who are supposed to be in on the list for an appointment that day. They'll be allowed in there as a checkpoint. And then once they come in, they'll be greeted by the staff person, the athletic trainer. And then once they're in the room itself, we'll only have a one-on-one. So we'll be working solely with that person, and we'll be assigned a table. There'll be spacing between the tables, cleaning up of all equipment used, after each student athlete has left. And then also the facilities manager will be cleaning up their usual, daily cleaning to make sure things are disinfected.
John,
Also, the other thing too is that the whirlpool will be off limits because it'll be hard to manage that. High contact places such as like using the foam rollers and stretching straps. We're going to depend on individuals having their own to utilize, whereas we won't be able to share those because those would have to be cleaned constantly, and there'll be no area, for that.
Well, these have certainly been interesting times for all of us, including all Brown students and student athletes. And joining us right now to talk about that is the Student Athlete Services Coordinator at Brown, Victoria Flowers. Vicki, why don't you tell us all a little bit about your role as Student Athlete Services Coordinator and exactly what that involves?
So my primary function as a Student Athlete Services Coordinator is to support all aspects of student athlete welfare during their time here at Brown, from when they get here on campus to when they graduate and a little bit beyond that, whether that's helping them find a tutor, connecting them with on-campus resources, or assisting with building programming that supports that next stage of their lives when they do leave Brown. That's, working with the career lab and connecting them with alumni, things like that. I'm also an ear to listen to student athletes' concerns, no matter what it's about. I was a former student athlete myself, so I get it. I understand the trials and tribulations that they go through, and anything that I can do to support them, I'm all for at all times.
As you know, these are challenging times in terms of social injustice and issues involving race. And there's a new feature that I know you've been working on a little bit with our Student Athlete Advisory Committee that we'll be unveiling this fall on social media. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
I'd love to. As we all know, the student athlete voice is certainly a powerful one. SAC has been discussing throughout the summer what they can do to highlight and support those voices during this time of social justice, call for social justice, and during this time of social unrest. They'll be launching a weekly media series called Perspective, which I think is the perfect name for it. Student athletes will be able to share their personal experiences, thoughts, or feelings about systemic racism in an effort to encourage dialogue within our department, across campus, and our community, and to support this diverse community that we all have the privilege to live and work in. I'm excited to see what becomes of this initiative. I know they've been working hard on it. We've had lots of discussions about it, and I'm just really proud of them for really putting this together.